Good morning, good morning. And I'm doing my morning meditation. I just finished. I had, I think it's called liturgy. I have to look that definition up. There's a huge vocabulary of words nowadays, but I think it's called a liturgy when Jesus actually visits you. I often question that based on that still your face thing that the Grateful Dead and the use of that LSD psychoactive drug where you can steal your face. Yeah, I experienced stuff like it where you can look at somebody and absorb and reflect their face. You'll look at them and they'll see their face on you and you'll see your face on them. Just capabilities of the human spirit. The Lord's Spirit is part of that and everything, but what goes on. So when I have something like what I believe the word liturgy, a visit from Jesus, I question it. I question all things. They say he'll enter through the east gate, enter through the eastern gate, at least according to what writings they have, tampered with, of course, Roman Church. So I question all things. And yes, I kind of lend to the fact that that eastern gate will be used because Jesus was more of an eastern personality than he is of the Western world, compare of Asia compared to like the United States, the Western world, and everything in between. But he was more of an Eastern. So I believe that Asiatic wisdom of question all things, there's more than one dimension of things. We live in a three-dimensional, most people are a third-dimensional existence, and when it gets to the fourth, fifth, and sixth levels, I can't hardly tell you, which dimension you would call that. It's like words that interchange. I don't know a good example right off the top of my head, but words that get used that unless you're familiar with that person and that subject, how they're using that word. Same way when you talk about dimensions, but beyond the third dimension, I start scratching around, and this realm of activity goes on. As this is outside of what we taste, touch, hear, and smell, and things that are just third dimensional living. So I did my homework about this dragon blood that I profess when I have my website, Three Oaks, numeral one. It's spelled Three Oaks in words, and then numeral1.com. And the Oaks were a important part of the Scythian lines, and the Scythian lines have dire grounding in the dragon blood issue, where the dragon blood by De Vere, and his first name ain't on the top of my head, forgot his name exactly. De Vere wrote the book The Dragon Legacy, and I'm reading it now. And the dragon bloodlines are supposed to have what it takes, actually a different genealogy, a different species than humans, even though dragons, myself, I've been bred through different lines that aren't dragon lines, but they were allowed to do that. I mean, every case wasn't the male noted to be part of the dragon lines with the female, not always, but they strived for it in certain cultures to keep the dragon lines together. If they know that this person is leniency from that bloodline, then that is dragon blood. Like the elven, he talks about the elven, and those are like Jesus was elven, and Jesus was also dragon lines. And you don't know that because the church has all that covered up, and you can find tons of information that the church has covered up that comes out, and you're told not to adventure it, that it's evil. Well, naturally, if there's a huge income, protect your territory of income. That's something a man does. I mean, if I have a place that I can store goods at, I go by there a lot on my car and check it. I run cameras and different things. I protect that. So yeah, you can't blame the men who have three daughters and something in college and need good cars to keep them getting raped going down the highway, and then the doctor's expenses, and then the legal expenses, and maintaining those cars and a house and the bills. And if he wants to pay his own bills, he's not on Social Security or something, then he needs the money. But it's wrong using the church for that because it's fraud. So to sit there and tell that you've got the true documentation of what happened during Christ's time and everything. No, this book De Vere wrote, and I haven't back checked him, but he's noted to be an occult specialist, one of the leading in the area of the occult insights. And you say, oh, that's evil. An occult just means knowledge beyond that of the natural common person. That's just all occult needs, but it's a scary word, and it can be used in what they call priestcraft because there's a certain amount of reality to that. And they'll add the water element or the fire element to what earthen's already there, and they'll scare you. So yeah, there's areas of the occult that can be scary, but just to have the knowledge, the occult knowledge, is not wrong. This DeVere guy tells that it's actually proven and has been proven that the church, the Roman church, fraudulently took away kings that were Merovingian king lines, which are the dragon lines are noted to be. I don't know if everyone, but he says that the Catholic Church pops up a couple hundred years, or at least a good distance away from the time that Constantine died, with a document that has been proven fraudulent that allowed the church the right to disengage or disallow kings and put other people against them because of the church, and use the rally that comes off the church says. And they did all that naming a document that has been proven fraudulent, and they took kings out of positioning and put in the Carovingians instead of the Merovingians. They put the Carovingians in, and those became, rulers of people and lesser in breed or species. And it's not really a racism issue. It's just that the Merovingian or the dragon lines were sent that no one was above them. And when they made rulings, they had the genealogy or the DNA that it took to be the rulers of earth. The Catholic Church completely frauded that. I have proof, 666 Dragon Blood, 3oaks1.com, that I have the Merovingian dragon bloodlines stemming back to William the Conqueror, and Constantine, I do believe, was also dragon blood. But they fraudulently took away the lordship or the kingship of these Merovingians, and they put in the Carovingian kings that were of a lesser breed, different than humans in a way. I mean, I appear human. I've been downbred, and they claim the magic is hindered because of that. But I was shown a vision that if I'll dedicate to the magic, I will be able to produce a very blessed kingdom. Now, they're running in the Islamics, and I believe that Muhammad was a prophet in the sense of he did bring forth something, a culture that serves God. There's numerous cultures that I believe, when you call grace a fair measure, that agree with God and can run through eternity of time and not disagree with God. And I believe that Muhammad brought one of those forth, and that he got it from Gabriel. And his methodology really boils down to consortation. I mean, look at the dire likeness and the fair compare. It boils down to consultation. That's kind of like the Native American would toss arrows in divination, but they could prophecy. Well, it's not always just getting ahead of things. It's coming from the divine and divine insights where you've listened to the Spirit. There's different methodologies, and I believe Muhammad did that and produced a good culture. So I'm doing Islam now, but I'm not 100% in agreement because of that very fact. So when you want to look at 666, the Dragon Blood, 3oaks1.com, you will find that I have ability to lay that on the table. I want to get the baronetcy that's sitting dormant right now, so I can be Baron Booth, Robert Booth, which the Booth name, George Booth, the first one, senior, unless there's one before him, of course, that is noted in the Dunham Massey estate as the peership was granted to him because of the Booth rebellion, where he defended King Charles and was going to put him back in seat. Well, that is my bloodline, and that traces directly. I can take it all the way back until the Adam de Booth was the head that scholars can put to all the Booth names. My name crosses through what I just mentioned right to him, and that goes back to William the Conqueror, noted as Dragon Blood, and Constantine, and I believe noted as Dragon Blood. Constantine was Roman, and that is where the Scythians divided up, and went into, after these wars and different things, to Italy. There's other history that they found that even before that, which was after, I believe, or it was before the Sumerian times, was way back in history, before we ever knew was recorded history at all. They found some documentation placed at the Society of Sumerian times, and I believe that the Scythians were right around that time, 900 AD, But I think you're talking way before that, the Sumerians, and that again has to do with where the Romans ended up from a war that happened. Some of these historians say between the Sumerians and finally ended up in Italy. So you have two different stories, but I bet those stories run in together somewhere throughout history. So anyway, you do have the dragon line surfacing in many different cultures, and the Asians have areas of the earth that are like chakras, like your chakra system healthy in your body, and I believe that's going to turn out to be relevant. But they have it mapped that the dragon bloodlines travel through here, somehow attached to the earth. I haven't studied it deeply, but do tell. I've proof that I go all the way back to those Merovingian lines, France, actually Normandy in France, and that's where Adam de Booth came from to join, according to some, which they don't have a lot of history from some of those times, came in with William Conqueror to join him in the battle that he fought against, who was it, Harry, I think? Anyway, there was a King Harold that got shot in the eye during William the Conqueror's Battle of Hastings. So I trace all the way back through theirs, and that's authentic dragon blood, like Jesus was, like the Elven, that has been sought to genocide. They want to kill them all. And he's pointed out the fact that when the Elven are removed, some lore and stuff has it that you lose the well-being of the earth. I'm here to try to help, and that's why I think that I'm going to be able to jack you, so to speak. I'm just looking at the mentality it's going to take to get through it all. I'm looking at you're going to destroy Earth. One resource doesn't replenish itself. It's kind of like a frog pond when you add one species or take away one species. You know what I mean? The one sick thing takes over, and there's none of the other. And I think you're going to do that to Earth, and I think that's going to help. And look, dragon bloodlines, they compare the dragon to the boar. The boar is in my family's coat of arms, 3 boars, and they said that can be interchanged symbolically to the dragon because of loyalty to the dragon, and that comes through my bloodlines. And my bloodlines, the Booth name, was noted, and I can show it somewhere in my studies, that they were breeding so that they would be interlinked to all the nobility and the aristocracy that was in England. That's the rulers during Carolingian or whatever it is, compared to Merovingian rulers. That's what the Booth name was doing. The dragon also symbolically believed upon some of these genocide practitioners like Rome. The blood of that compares to Satan. Now, that ain't real fair. The dragon people that partake in this understanding or studies of, they claim that it's Lucifer and Jesus' blood. The odd thing here is Jesus, in what documents you have, says he was the morning star. That is Lucifer, the light bearer. And then there's others that say Lucifer isn't Satan. Well, that I can get into later, how a word can be given, and then there's shape changes, and how you can invoke, and how the Spirit gives that to a prince or a king to defend himself. And I think there is a place where Lucifer is directly soul related with Satan. But see, the black people of Africa and stuff like that, they had complete religions where there wasn't a devil and a God. There was balance. There was, and I'm 666. I was born September 23rd. That's perfect balance. My name, Robert Edward Booth, that's perfect balance. The natives, the African beliefs, they didn't have a devil. When they called upon the Satan side of things, that was just part of the balance. That didn't, it takes evil to know good. It takes both. Dogs have to be fed, according to the Native American, Not that you want to go serving Satan, but in your day, like in fair compared to what biblical you have offenses that need be and necessary evils, and both dogs do need to be fed. Today, there will be enough of it, and both dogs will be fed. Now, that's coming out of the hands of Rome. You'll have to decide and discern what you should do about your day. But don't feed the wrong dog too long, right? Go to 3oaks1 with the numeral 1.com. Peace.